Hey, how's it going? And welcome to this next piano lesson. We're going to be talking about scales. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Oh no, not scales. Scales are the trying, most boring exercise. And I'm going to show you how they can be fun, how they can be exciting, and how you can learn them fast. So first I'm going to talk about a couple concepts on how to learn scales. And then we're going to go into a couple specific practice strategies that help you learn scales much faster and much better. All right, so the first thing you want to do is make a scale sheet. And this is huge when it comes to motivation. And what it is just a sheet that has all the letter names of the keys you want to learn going down. And then all you do is once you learn the scale at a certain BPM, and that's beats per minute, then you just cross it off. And once you have all the scales crossed off, then it's like, okay, I know all these scales, my technique is way better. All right, so rule number one for scales is use the correct fingering. This is huge and so important. And I know when I first started learning scales, what I do is I just kind of, oh, this seems like it's right. And I'd learn the wrong fingering. And then the problem is that fingering might work at a slow tempo. But once you play a fast tempo, all of a sudden the fingering doesn't work anymore because it's too awkward. So you want to learn the correct fingering right away. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back, unlearn the first fingering, and learn the second one. And I'm telling you, it's way harder because what'll happen is your fingers will naturally want to snap to the old fingering you've been playing. And that happened to me, and I had to go unlearn it and relearn the new way. So you always want to use the correct fingering. And if you don't know the correct fingering, it's no big deal because I have a PDF download and it has all the correct fingerings to every single scale. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry if you're using the right one. You just download it and use that fingering. So basically, before you start a scale, you're going to have to take out that scale sheet and practice with it in front of you. And the first day, you're going to be looking at it a lot. You know, all the time, you're drilling, am I using the right fingering? Am I using the right fingering? Then the second day, you know, maybe every so often, maybe you're like, I think that's right. And maybe there's a couple notes where you'll have to check the chart for. And then by the fourth and fifth day, it's like every so often, you'll be like, I'm pretty sure it's fourth finger. And then you'll look at the chart and be like, yep, it's fourth finger. And you'll, drill it into your brain. And how it works is you basically take one scale a week. Don't try to learn all the scales at once. It's stressful and there's no point to it. You know, you don't have to learn them all at once. It's easier to just drill in one really well a week. And I'll have more about that when I talk about the complete training plan and the complete daily. Sorry, my card just went out on my camera, so I had to replace it. But anyway, that's going to be in one of the later videos where I'm going to show you the complete training routine and day by day, week by week, what you should be doing. So don't worry about it too much right now. Just worry about how to play the scales fast and efficiently. And the second rule is whenever you play scales, accuracy over speed. And this isn't just for scales, this is for everything, but it's the biggest mistake beginners make. And it's a mistake, to be honest, I still make it all the time because I know stuff sounds cooler when it's fast, right? You wanna try to play it at full speed right away. And the problem is, whenever you play something, your muscles learn it, whatever you play. So if you're trying to play fast and you're playing the wrong notes, your muscles they don't know the difference. So your muscle memory is learning all the wrong notes. So it's really, really important to play at a slow enough tempo where you're always playing the correct notes. So try to resist the temptation and always play accurately. And that's not just for scales, it's for any piece. In my book, Supercharge Your Piano Practice, I have the 3 golden rules to efficient piano practice. And that's number 1 is accuracy before speed. So you want to make sure you're doing that whenever you're playing scales. All right, now we're going to be talking about 2 specific strategies to learning scales fast and efficiently, the added note strategy and the quick thumb strategy. So I'm going to bring the camera in and give you a nice close-up on my hand for these. All right, here we are at the keyboard. Let's talk about some scale practice strategies. Now, how a lot of people practice scales wrong is they just sit there and they just run through their scales. They practice them over and over, and you can learn them that way, but it'll take a super long time. So there's 2 main practice strategies you want to use. First one is called the added note strategy. It makes it way easier to learn and memorize scales. Basically what it does is breaks a scale down into small little chunks, so then once you learn all the chunks, the whole scale itself becomes very easy. So let's say we're taking a C major scale. So we're starting on the note C. It's going to look like this at the end. So when you start on the note C, it's called the added note strategy. So you start with something very simple, just 2 notes at a time, right? So just C and D. And you play that 4 times. And notice I'm using the over-under wrist motion when I'm doing this. That's super important to just keep in mind all the time. So now the next step is play the first 3 notes. Now the first 4 notes. Now the first 5 notes. And you keep going until you get all the way up the scale. And what I realized is this makes it way easier to learn because by the time you get to A or B, the first 3 notes are like drilled in, and by the time you get to C, the first 4 notes are drilled in. And it's an easy way to step it up incrementally so you don't play through the whole thing, make mistakes. It's also easier to learn with your scale sheet because you look at your scale sheet, you're like, here's the first fingering, 1, 2, 3. And then you look, oh, here's 1, 2, 3, 1. And it's an easy way to memorize scales. So you do that with your right hand, and then you do it with your left hand, the same thing, so. And all the way up the scale. And now you're gonna go down the scale. So now you start with this C up here and play just the first 2 notes and do it 4 times. Then you do the first 3. Then first 4. You do that all the way till you get to the bottom of the scale. And by the time you do to the top and to the bottom, all of a sudden your scale will be that much more drilled into your muscle memory. All right, now the second strategy is the quick thumb strategy. And I will tell you that the hardest place in scales, especially for beginners, is this thumb crossover when you go. And you'll see so many beginners play this, and then they kind of pause and freak out. And then, this is easy. It's just 5 notes in a row. This is easy. Just 3 notes in a row. The hard part for a lot of people is this transition. And here's where most people make mistakes. They play these first 3 notes, and they don't move their thumb. And now it's like, oh crap, my thumb's all the way over here. I got to move it all the way over here. And it's a big jump for your thumb. So to combat this, you want to start moving your thumb and getting used to moving your thumb as you're playing the second and the third finger. So how we practice this is the quick thumb strategy. It's actually kind of similar to the added note strategy, but what you want to do is play the first 2 notes, and as you press your second finger down, you want to move your thumb underneath, just like that, right? So it's, and I hope you guys can see that well enough. But basically, immediately when I'm pressing down the second finger, already my thumb's underneath, getting ready to hit that F. So you play the first 2, 4 or 5 times, just focusing on that thumb movement. And it won't be that hard because you're only playing 2 notes, so it's easier to focus. Then you play the first 3. Then you play the first 4. Right? And what do you notice? After you play the 3rd note, your thumb is already here. If I just take my 3rd finger away, my thumb is already on this F. So now you don't have to worry about this crazy jump where it's, oh crap, and try to hit the F. You can just, and it's right there for you. And once you get to the thumb cross, you don't have to practice all the way up the scale because we already did the added note strategy for that. This is just about practicing that little thumb cross. And you do the same thing with your left hand, but obviously with your left hand, you're going down the scale, right? So it's, because that's where the thumb cross, there's no thumb cross going up the scale. So you do the same thing and you do. And you keep going down until you hit the thumb cross. And this is a really quick and easy way to get a faster thumb under transition and just to drill in that transition. Now these are 2 of the practice strategies I talk about in my book, Lightning Fast Scales in 5 Minutes a Day. And it's a book I have on Amazon. It's $2.99. If you like these drills and you're interested in something more, and there's drills on how to speed them up, there's drills on how to do 4 octaves, it's drills just like this, but kind of relating to different parts of practicing scales. You can get that on Amazon. I'll put the link, right below this video. And that's all I got for you guys for this lesson. Remember, please put this into your practicing right away, like always. Please always, as you're practicing these things, make sure you're using the correct technique. Get that hand position right, then make sure you're doing the over-unders, make sure you're doing all those little things right, those little subtle things that really lead to a lot of improvement. So that's all I got for you guys. See you in the next lesson. Happy practicing and peace out.